What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Babbles Nonsense podcast, where we have Meenu back today, where we unpack the real, the raw, and the often overlooked parts of life. In today's episode, we're diving deep into the topic that hits home for so many of us, and that is people pleasing. That constant urge to say yes, to avoid conflict and prioritize everyone else's needs over our own. Whether it's at work, in relationships, or even with family, the pattern can feel impossible to break. But here's the truth. Being quote unquote nice shouldn't mean sacrificing your peace. Like I said earlier, Meenu is back today, and we all know that she specializes in energy healing and life coaching. She has been helping women and men break free from those approval seeking and stepping into their confident, boundary living lives. We're going to talk about why people pleasing starts, how it affects your mental and emotional health, and most importantly, how to stop. If you've ever felt guilty for saying no or struggle with setting limits without feeling like the bad guy, this episode is definitely for you.
All right, guys, welcome back to another episode with Meenu and Jana, and obviously Babbles Nonsense. So super excited to do this because I think it's been a while.
It has been a long while.
It's been a long while. Our schedules are not lining up. She's busy with things. I'm busy with things. It's like when I'm free, she's not. You all know how it works. So we are here to talk about something pretty important today. I have touched on this in other podcast episodes, but I haven't gone in depth like this. So I'm really excited to talk about it.
Yes, we are going to talk about people pleasing and boundary setting today. Someone reached out and just asked if me and Meenu could do this. They said they wanted to know our thoughts. So we were like, oh, yeah, that's actually a really good topic. We have touched on it like in other when it comes to relationships and how people pleasing comes out in relationships and stuff like that. But we just wanted to do a whole segment on people pleasing.
Yes,
So,
very excited. So
yeah,
what is people pleasing? I mean, like instead of going like in a definitive Google way, like people pleasing is basically multiple definitions, and one of them is like self-abandonment to make sure you're included in a group or included in somebody else's reality.
right.
And we do it for many reasons. We do it to influence people. We do it for survival. Honestly, it's sad because a lot of people do it for survival, but they don't understand how it comes across, and they don't understand how much damage it does to their own soul and spirit than they are people pleasing.
And would you say it's more like an unconscious, like a subconscious thing? Like people aren't consciously aware of their people pleasing habits all the time?
I would say yes and no. Like I would say most of the time that they're not aware of it because again, it's like an auto program, and usually that typically starts in childhood or teenage. But sometimes people know, like some of my clients, like when they come and tell me they're very conscious. They're like, I know I'm people pleasing and I want to stop people pleasing, whether it's their partner, whether it's their parents, they actively like want to stop. And some people do it very like subliminally, like they don't know that they're doing it constantly. So it's kind of, I mean, it's kind of sad if you think about it, you know?
I would say too. I mean, because I don't know if you've ever been a people pleaser, but
Oh
100%.
yeah, former people pleaser for I think until like 4 years ago, I in another life I fully was a people pleaser.
Because I was going to look up real quick statistics on people pleasing. I should have probably done that before we started recording, but then it just hit me when you started talking about like how many people probably do it.
Yeah,
Let's see.
I used to be a people pleaser all my life, and this is really interesting, Dad. If you're listening to this, I'm sorry. I love you. I know you're different now, but when he raised me, like when I was little, like he would always say, the biggest asset is to be liked by everyone. And I was like, huh, okay, so I just need to be liked by everyone. So that started like an unconscious pattern all the way in my teenagers, choosing terrible partners, being in shitty relationships,
No,
being
that
in negative situations, all the way until like I only stopped when I was 30, which is really sad.
Well, I was about to say that makes a lot of sense because I don't know if anyone ever told me when I was a child to like, to be liked by everyone, but you see it a lot. Like it's almost like a loop that you don't even realize you're seeing it when it
Mhm.
comes to like celebrities, magazines,
Mhm.
movies. Like Disney Channel,
Mhm.
just like how people are always trying to make everything better and right. And
Mhm.
so I guess it is, like you said, a yes and a no. Some of it is subconscious, and then some of it is conscious. You're consciously aware of it, but it's more of you have to tap in. You have to almost be like, okay, I am aware that this is people pleasing.
Right. Right. Oh, absolutely. And I always like to like go back to the why and I like to go back to the root. So it's like even if we talk about evolution, if you think about it, like we're all a part of a tribe, right? So like if we stood out and said, I disagree with you to a member of the tribe, then you are kicked out of the tribe, which means you actually die.
Yeah,
So even though we've evolved and we're not in a tribe and we don't live in the jungle and all those things, the brain is still wired to be included. The brain is
right.
wired for companionship, for connection. So, like when you're people pleasing, that's what you're trying to achieve subconsciously. But the problem is you're abandoning yourself completely.
And that's when you would say you're kind of giving your power away in a sense.
You're giving your power away the entire time. And the worst part is like, not only are you giving your power away, when the other person doesn't recognize that you people pleased or you sacrificed or compromised on your values, you also get resentful.
Yes, yes. I would say
You're
100%.
laughing. I know you're laughing because you've been through that. I've been through that. Like,
I'm laughing because like certain scenarios come to my mind when you say stuff. I'm like, oh yeah, 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 yeah. That makes sense. But I pulled up some statistics. So it says the prevalence of people pleasing traits, 69% of adults say they often put other people's needs before their own, even when it negatively impacts them. And that's from a stat in 2022.
oh, oh my
That's
God.
a lot.
That's 69% is a lot.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know that I've ever met, well, I've probably met a few people. They truly don't care what other people think. And like, it's almost very like admirable and like you kind of strive for that. And it's almost like, how do you do that? Like, how do you just not care? Is it truly that you don't care or is it a front that you're putting on?
I think they've all been people pleasers in my
Okay.
opinion. Like right now, I'm at a point that I don't care, but I have been a people pleaser for most of my life. And I
Hmm.
cared too much. And now what happened is the pendulum just switched to the other side. Like, I think I'm done. And
Well,
then the worst part is like after I was done, I started feeling so much better. Like the momentary discomfort would like still kick in. Like it was so bad, you guys. Like it was like if I disagreed, I would have knots in my stomach. It was like that bad. And then so I had to sit with the ache and I had to sit with the knot and I had to regulate myself over and over again. And then I had to, keep telling myself, well, guess what? I'm not dead just because I stood up to myself. Guess what? I'm not isolated just because I stood up to myself. Like I had to like rewire my brain to feel safety in standing up for the truth. So it's not like overnight, oh, I decided and I'm going to stop. No, no, no. You're going to have like somatic like feelings. You're going to feel it in your body. You're going to feel uncomfortable, but then you get comfortable with the uncomfortable and then you realize how amazing the freedom feels and then
yeah.
eventually you choose the freedom.
I think it's funny because I would say that some people that know me that don't like know me that just think they know me, they would be like, "Oh, you're not a people pleaser. Like you say and do whatever you want." But really they don't know the mental turmoil because a lot of people like who accept I feel like accept or don't mind confrontation,
Mm,
people think that those people are not people pleasers because a lot of people pleasers do not like confrontation. So they will be like, oh, yeah, yeah, whatever you say, when really they're wanting to say no or whatnot.
mhm,
And I don't mind standing up for myself in my professional life, which me and you have talked about multiple times on this podcast. But in my
mhm.
personal life, it's really hard for me to tell someone no.
Yeah, and that's also fear of abandonment.
Yes.
Exactly where it comes from. It's like if you guys are listening to this and you're like, oh yeah, I can't say no, like you have fear of abandonment. In some way or another, it's in your body. And the more you start working on the fear of abandonment and releasing that fear of abandonment, you're going to be like, okay, I don't think I'm going to abandon myself, and that's good enough.
Yeah.
Because what you're doing when you're people pleasing is you're abandoning yourself so that you don't have to be abandoned by someone else.
Would you say that the fear of abandonment is truly FOMO? When people say, oh, I don't want to have FOMO, fear of missing out?
Yes, yes and no, because sometimes for certain people it's really like it's a big deal, right? It's like fear of abandonment. Yeah, for some people it's FOMO, but for other people it actually goes really deep. Like
Okay.
they may have been neglected by a parent because they didn't people please. They may have been left in a relationship because they didn't please. So it's like very deep for them. It's not just like FOMO for them. Like for me, I'll tell you, like until I was 30, like it was FOMO for me. Like I have, some of my girlfriends, they used to like go out, to the clubs and they love to go dancing, which is amazing. Like, and I used to like want to go because I didn't want to say no. Because if I
Yeah.
said no, it would A, disappoint them, and B, I had FOMO.
Right. Because the next day when maybe y'all all went to brunch together and they were talking about how much fun they had last night, you're like, well, damn, I should have went.
Exactly. But then later I realized that the FOMO is like not worth it because my body just felt awful with alcohol in my system. I just didn't feel good the next day. I just felt like shit. And I'm like, first of all, I didn't even want to go. And I went. And then this is the punishment for like not listening to my own intuition and my own needs. So eventually I just like stopped going, you
Right.
know? And I also like told them I'm not going to take it personally if you guys stop inviting me because this is just not my scene.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it's a combination of FOMO, but it also is for some people it's like really deep, you know.
Okay. That makes sense. Now,
Mhm.
I know we're talking about people pleasing, but there's also this other saying that people say, like the nice guy syndrome. Is
Yeah.
people pleasing the same as nice guy syndrome, or how would you differentiate the two?
It's very similar, like nice guy syndromes. It's so funny you say nice guy syndrome. Like I actually just was talking to a client last week and I told him he has nice guy syndrome. And I told him to read this book called No More Mr. Nice Guy. By the way, if you're
That's on my notes.
It's amazing. We're laughing, guys, in the video. Like, we're like dying laughing. Anyway, yeah. So, that book, guys, is like amazing. Like, it's amazing. Like, some of my male friends have read it and they vouch so much for it. It is like one secret sauce for like breaking people pleasing. It's really good. And I know it says no more Mr. Nice Guy, but like people read it with their girlfriends, people read it with their wives. So like, yeah, you can like give it a shot, even if you're a woman, like you can
I'll
read
be
that.
honest with you. I don't know that I've ever met a man
Mm.
that,
Really?
that has quote unquote nice guy syndrome. Well, maybe one of my best friends from college did because he was the nicest guy and he did have a hard time saying no to people because he was just so nice. But like as far as like men I've dated, no.
I'm going to be really honest. I think it's a little bit more influenced with culture because, like, I see people here, like, not a lot of them. It's like when you compare it to, like, I mean, I'm Indian, so it's like when you compare it with, like, Indian men, most of the Indian men are like, many of them, I will say, are like people pleasers.
Oh, really?
Women and men. Yeah. Yeah. It goes
Interesting.
really deep because it's like you're very attached to your parents. So you're always taught to like obey your parents, listen to your parents, make sure you don't disrespect them. That kind of like goes too much.
Yeah, because
You
you don't want to upset them like by anything that you do. Yeah.
So it's like automatically, it's like, oh yeah, I have to like please them. And then that kind of like leaks to other relationships, it leaks outside. So
Okay.
it's definitely very common in like Mexican culture because I've lived in Mexico. So I know that it's common in Indian culture. It's less common with American men, but it's definitely
Because we disrespect our parents.
but it's very common with American women. That I have noticed,
Yeah. Yeah.
I have
Well,
noticed.
now that you like when you say that, like the statistics that I looked up, it did say that there's a gender difference when it comes to people pleasing. It says that women are twice as likely as men to say they struggle with saying no at work or in relationships. And
Mhm.
the statistics from 2020 from Psychology Today said 75% of women said they feel guilty when prioritizing their needs over others. 75%.
Oh, that's a lot. And I think it's sad because again, it goes back to programming and culture. As women, we are programmed from a really young age to be a nurturer, to be a caretaker, to hold space for everyone, to deal with shit, like, like be sensitive, like you're
Put
always,
yourself on the back burner.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So the problem with like continuously and always being of service is that you're not of service to yourself.
Right.
You're of service to the world, but you're not of service to yourself. Nobody teaches you that, which is what they should be teaching. How to be of service to yourself, how to fill your cup first before like giving from overflow.
And I don't know how your culture does, but like I've noticed this with a lot of my friends that have children, like their whole identity becomes a mother.
Mhm.
And it's a lot of I feel like it's a lot of societal pressure. Like that's how we're taught. Like that's when you grow up, like once you're a mother,
Mhm.
your kids come first, when really when you talk to psychologists and therapists and life coaches, they say that you're actually supposed to put your marriage first.
Yes.
children second, because that's why a lot of, marriages end in divorce because, and I'm not saying all, I'm just saying, and I'm not saying this is just from my friends. This is just what I've been taught or read about, when I look things up, that a
Mhm.
lot of women will put their children first and they act like they no longer have a husband. And that husband then becomes like, well, then, and then that's when the growing apart kind of takes place and happens.
Yes, and also this is so interesting you brought up because it's like when you also put your children first, it's enormous pressure on the children. Let's not even like ignore that, right? It's enormous pressure. And then, guess what? In a few years, your kids are gonna like graduate and leave, and then you're gonna be like, damn, I did all these things, and my
Who
whole
am
life.
I?
Exactly. Then they have an identity crisis. Like one of my friends told me this, which is like I think it's like bad shit. If you're listening to this, I'm sorry, but using it for a good example here, which is she was like, I'm just going to like wherever my kids go for college, if they go to university, if they're moving across country or like states, I'm going to go with them.
Ooh,
And I
she's going to
was
uproot her whole life.
Yeah, I was like, wait a minute. You mean like you're gonna stay with them? And then she was like, no, 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 I'll find my own place. Like they can have their own freedom, but I would like to do that. And then she laughed about it. So I think it's a joke. But I was like, that's people pleasing to another level. That's like crazy. And I've seen parents do that. They people please their kids.
Well, I was about to just say, like, it's funny that you say, it's a whole nother level because it's kind of a full circle if you think about it. So if a mother, which again, we're brought up and taught by not only our parents but our society
Mhm.
as women to be nurturers, to be a mom, to give all of yourself to everyone but yourself. But like, and we use kids as an example because it's the easiest to see. Like, if you're a mom, like, okay, put all your money into your children. Don't go out with your girls. Don't go get your nails done. Don't get a massage done. Don't get your hair done because you need to take care of your children. When in reality, we know, like from a psychological perspective, you have to take care of yourself and fill your cup before you can fill anyone, children included. And just like they say, like on an airplane, you have to put your oxygen mask on first before you can put anyone else's on. Because if you put it on your child and that person, then you're dead. you
Right.
know?
No, absolutely. That is so true. And I think we need to stop like glorifying that behavior where it's like, oh my God, she's just doing so much for her husband. She's just doing so much for her kid. Like, is that actually of service later? Like, what message are you really like sending that
And like you
person?
said, like if this all starts in our childhood from what we're seeing and it's deep rooted, then maybe that's where it is. That's where it's beginning. It's like, did the chicken come before the egg or the egg before the chicken? No one really knows, right? Because it's a full circle. So,
It's full
did
circle.
people pleasing come from seeing your mom and your dad, like your parents give all to you and not to themselves? So then you feel like you have to please them because they sacrifice so much for you. So then
Mhm.
it's like then you grow up people pleasing and then you're doing it as an adult, then you're doing it with your children. Then it's like what came first? The people pleasing?
Exactly. And sometimes it's also like kids, when children grow up, they don't listen to what you say, they mirror your behavior. So it's like they watch what you do, they see how you operate in life and the way you make decisions. So if you're a parent and you're people pleasing, let's say not your children, but other people, like you're doing it with your spouse, you're doing it with your sister, you're doing it with someone else, and they're actively watching it, they're going to learn that that is a form of survival. They're
Yeah.
going to learn that that is okay. Oh, yeah, my mom did it all her life. My dad did it. Oh, yeah, sure. I'm going to do the same thing too. Maybe I need to do this to be included and to be alive.
Because if you can't trust your parents, who can you trust?
Yeah, because you're like they're worshiping the ground you walk on. Like you are their absolute role model. So
Hmm.
whatever you do, they're going to mirror that.
So would you say that people pleasing majority of the time comes from childhood, like all the time comes from childhood, or do you think it's a learned behavior later in life, or what have you
So
seen in your practice?
so interesting because in my practice, I've seen both. Like I've seen people pleasing come from childhood. I've also seen people pleasing start in relationships, which is so weird. For some people, it starts
Oh,
in teenage. It's just starts
yes.
at teenage. Like they do it because they want to belong in certain school groups because there are bullies and you know how there are like these gangs and like, oh, we're the cool girls. You can't sit with us. So like pleasing to like be a part of that. It starts there and then it extends to, oh yeah, I'm gonna do it with my boyfriend so that he doesn't break up with me because I'm dating this cool guy and I don't want him to break. So I'm gonna please my way into it. So some actually start in relationships. Like I have this particular client that I'm working with, and She had an amazing childhood, like great parents. Her parents taught her like amazing boundaries, like say no, stand up for yourself, all the whole thing, right? The perfect lessons. But then her people pleasing started when she started dating.
That makes sense.
It can start anywhere. It can start anywhere. Like for me, I know I said my dad, like had a conversation with me about it, but for me, I would say even if I excluded my dad, it is truly cultural.
Yeah.
Even if my dad had said nothing, it is fully cultural.
So you would have done it no matter what.
I would have done it no matter what. Like all my friends that are also like Indian women are either still people pleasing or recovering people pleasers. There are a few people that have very few people that have recovered, but like they're still in that spectrum.
Which makes sense. And not to like, I know, like going back to the dating reference, that makes a lot of sense when you say that. And
Yeah.
not, I guess the example that comes to my mind to make it like, I always try to, my brain works in a way like I have to come up with an example to attach onto it to understand it. And the first thing when you said that, I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense,
Mhm.
especially in abusive relationships. Because let's say it's a physically abusive relationship, you're going to do anything you can to not be hit, right? You're going to please, you're going to walk on eggshells, you're going to do anything you can to please that
Yeah.
person so that you're not physically abused.
No, absolutely. Like for me, like it was more like emotional abuse.
Yeah.
So because of emotional abuse and gaslighting, I was people pleasing. Because I didn't want to be gaslit. I didn't want to be said that, oh, I'm crazy or, for all these things. So I used to like change my narrative, like, oh my God. And the worst part is like the second after I do it, I would feel like this like ick. And then it would be too late. I would be like, oh my God, I already
It's
said
killing me because I'm thinking about all the people I've dated and I'm like, oh my God, I have
it.
been a people pleaser. I mean, probably the people I've dated have been like, no, you haven't, because I will eventually stand up for myself. And it's so crazy because that's when the gaslighting is the worst because you please, 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 please. And then all of a sudden you're like, you know what? I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm going to start standing up for myself. And the first thing they say to you is, you're not acting like yourself. Who do you think you're trying to be?
Exactly. And I was like reflecting on that. It's so funny you say that like a few weeks ago when I was meditating and I was like, who's right and who's wrong in that? And honestly, it's not about right and wrong. It's like when you get people used to a certain thing, they're attaching your identity to whatever you got them used to. Like if you've been a people pleaser and that's been like your whole identity, like for 20 years or 10 years, and then suddenly you start like having opinions, suddenly you start having, like you start rebelling and you start like talking back, it is going to be inconvenient for everyone.
And I,
It's
I have a friend that actually recently started doing that to her, like with her husband. And instead of him acknowledging that she has her own identity and her own thought process, he blames me and says, it's because you're hanging out with her that you're feeling this way. And she's like, no, I'm feeling this way because I finally see the
Mhm.
issues and I'm trying to communicate those issues to you. And you're sitting here gaslighting me. And he still, even after she says that to his face, he'll be like, no, it's not. It's because you're hanging out with her.
Oh, that's so funny. I get blamed all the time. I just stopped taking it personally. I get blamed all the time by husbands, by partners, like, oh yeah, you're going and seeing Meenu, like you're talking to Meenu, like, yeah, of course, like now you're able to say this, but no, 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 like we are just showing what's already there, guys. Like we can't sit here and change someone's identity. We can't sit here and change someone's personality. That shit doesn't happen like overnight. We are expressing what that person is struggling to express, and they are seeing a form of personal expression through us. And it's resonating with them. So they're finally like taking it into their own lives and implementing it. Like that's what's
Yeah.
happening. We're not here to change anyone, right?
Right. And I'm glad you said that because initially I took it very personal and I was like, well, I mean, I'm sorry that I, give you strength and I am a good friend to you, but I don't know like that
Sorry, I gave you strength and I'm a good friend.
I'm sorry that, he can't see. I don't know what to say.
Say
Like
it out loud. It's so funny. It's
it is because it's
ridiculous.
like, I'm sorry I'm a good friend and telling you the truth. Like, and, speaking of that, side note, I don't think good friends are people who agree with you 100% of the time.
Oh my God, like Jonna and I argue all the time.
All the time. We'll literally be in text conversations and me and you will be like, we're just gonna have to agree to disagree. And I'm like, yeah, we are, because I'm not changing my mind, you're not changing yours, and that's what it is. And then that's the end of the conversation.
Yeah, I
There's
know.
no, I hate you, you don't have my same opinions. It's
Yeah.
cool. We realize we're not going to convince each other to change their
Yeah.
mind. So it's just like, We don't have to
Exactly.
talk about it anymore.
You don't have to talk about that particular thing. There are like million things to talk about, like, and and that's where I think like I'm really like in a way like proud of you and me because like we're not pleasing each other.
Yeah.
We're not agreeing with each other just because, oh yeah, I want to be liked by her. Like, not none of that.
That, you know what? And that's what the difference is I have a safety in our friendship to where I know I can show up to be myself 100% of the time. And I know that you're not going to run away from this friendship because I don't do everything you say, agree with everything you do. And I think that's kind of what it comes down to is how safe do you feel in a relationship to be able to show up as you?
That is so, so, so true. Like, we're going to talk about like just a very quick detour in this. Yes, we're going to come back to people pleasing, but we're also going to talk about really quickly, if you don't mind, like how to set a safe space, right?
Yeah.
And the best way, like if you're a friend, you're a father, you're a mother, you're, any form like of relationship that you have, you're listening to this. If you love someone and you want to be there for someone, be there for them. Just be there for them. Don't inflict your opinions. Don't inflict your ideologies. Don't say, if you don't do this, I'm going to walk away. Like that form of love is like very conditional.
Hmm.
You're saying you have to agree with me. Only if you agree with me, then you belong in my friendship, or we belong together. Like that's so conditional. That's very like constricted. That's not a very expansive way of living or thinking.
Right.
So how do you hold space? And it's so interesting because me and my partner were talking about it a few days ago. How to hold space is to truly give the stage to someone. And what does it mean to truly give the stage to someone? Let's say if somebody has an issue, they want to come talk to you, you say, okay, the stage is yours, take the stage, right? So they talk to you, they talk your ear off, they tell you all their concerns. You are not interrupting, you are not inflicting your judgments, you are not inflicting your opinions. And then after they're done talking, be a good person and ask, do you want advice or do you just want me to hold space?
Yep.
And if they say, I just wanted to vent, I just wanted someone to listen to and hold space, then say, okay, I'm here for you. I love you and I'm here whenever you need. And that's the most like unconditional form of, reassuring safety because we're talking about safety here, which is connected to people pleasing. That's how you really hold space. And then if they say, I'm open for feedback, like I'm open for advice or guidance, then yeah, go for it, give your opinion, and but again, remember, you're not giving your opinion so that they agree with you all the time.
Right.
Like you're giving your opinion because they asked for your opinion and they can also disagree. They can also go back and think about it. They don't have to agree with you. This is not an ego trip or a power trip.
I agree
Right.
100% everything you just said because like and I think it's also good to know like which friends that you can go to and vent to. Like there's friends like if I want someone to agree with me, I'll go talk to them because I know they're going to agree with everything I say. Then there's friends that I know that I can go to if I need to know like true real advice that's not just going to sit there and agree with me. For example, if you're breaking up with someone and you have those friends that you can go to and they're going to be like screw him, he was terrible, da 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 da. And then you have the friends that you can go to that go, can I be real honest with you? You know, in this situation, I saw the things that you did here that probably could have ruined that relationship. And maybe that's something you want to look at to go into the next relationship.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that is a good friend. I think
Yes.
that's a solid friend.
Well, that's the kind of friends I want.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. And like sometimes, like even my clients will be like, they'll try to people please me. And then I'll be like, don't, no, 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 you don't have to agree with me. You can tell me if you have different values, and then we can work with that.
Yeah.
Because my job is not to change your values. My job is not to change your core beliefs. Like that is not, I'm not going to have an ego trip saying, oh my God, I changed your core belief. Like, no.
Yeah.
So when you're approaching a person, try to see if you can go at it from a non-egotistical perspective and say, if I were to unconditionally support this person, how can I hold space? So when that starts happening, people pleasing will start reducing because they feel like, oh yeah, this is so safe. Like I can just be myself with this person. I can always be there. I know she's always going to be there, not abandon me. And that's what happens. That's the magic. That's when the magic starts happening in relationships.
I agree. And now, just kind of taking it back to people pleasing a little bit, like we mentioned it a little bit earlier on the beginning of the episode where we talked about how, like, you're kind of abandoning yourself and it's kind of tapping into your self identity. How would you explain to someone, like, when you've done people pleasing for so many years, how that is tapping into their self identity and then how it's like it can, I guess, be a negative impact sometimes on your self-identity and your self-worth. Like how I guess I'm asking, how does people pleasing connect with your identity, and how can you kind of come out of that?
Yeah, so the people pleasing connects with your identity in a way of like, oh, I'm just a person that is nice, right? It starts like that.
Yeah.
I'm just a nice person. I don't like to disagree. I don't like to be the odd one out.
I
Like,
don't like conflict.
exactly, I don't like conflict. And also another thing that I've heard when it like translates to identities, it's like, I just want to make everyone comfortable. That's a
Yep.
big I just want to make sure everyone feels at home with me and in my space, and I just want to make sure everyone is heard and seen. Sure, but at what expense,
Right.
right? So then that becomes that identity. And now, how do you detach from that identity? Is I think you have to look at your life and ask yourself, am I happy with who I am? Do I actually have my own beliefs? Do I actually have my own opinions, my own take on things? And am I following that? Am I actually living through that? Or is it just like buried underneath somewhere and it's not even like coming out? So at the end of the day, I think it like comes down to how's my relationship with myself? How is my relationship with my friends? Am I being an honest person?
Right.
Can I be honest? Am I being honest here? Am I being honest outside? And if that's like, I don't know, not all the time, then you got to like check it out and ask, like, how is that affecting you further?
Right.
Like, are you suppressing more? Are you hiding things? Like, now, are you like faking it? Are you faking the friendship? Are you faking the relationship because you have fear of abandonment? So, how is that impacting in other areas? Right. So, I think what helps is to like pause and reflect and ask yourself, maybe like once a month, maybe once every few months, ask yourself, am I happy with myself? Am I being true to myself? Am I being true to my relationships and friendships? And if you say, no, I'm not being true, I'm trying to fit in, I'm trying to make sure they think this of me, they think that, and a lot of people, this is where it gets caught. Like, I have heard of some people, they really care about how they're being perceived, which is also people pleasing.
Yeah.
Because why do you care about how you're being perceived? Like, why is that important?
Yeah.
Because what that tells me is you don't perceive yourself in a correct manner.
And I'm glad you said that, because
Yeah.
also it's also like when you're so self obsessed with like how you look like physically to other
Mhm,
people, like,
mhm,
and I'm not saying that we shouldn't care to a certain degree, because like I think we all are going to care to a certain degree, but there is a level that you, some people, like I have a friend that takes it to the extreme. Like she literally gets down on herself because she doesn't look like me or look like someone else or look like, this or look like that. She just, and I'm like, you have to stop doing that, because you are your own person and
mhm,
people love you for you, but
mhm.
it comes across that you don't love yourself.
It really does. And it's like, and you can actually tell when someone is being fake. And when I say fake, I mean people pleasing, because people pleasing is actually fake. Because when you're trying to, I know this is going to, kind of like sting if you're doing it, but it's like if you're a people pleaser, you're a manipulator. You're a manipulator because you're not being yourself. You're not being your authentic self. So you're painting a picture to the other person that you're this like quote unquote like nice girl and nice guy, and making them believe in a version of you that is probably not even true to yourself.
That makes
And,
sense.
so it's kind of, yes, it's a trauma response. I'm not denying the trauma on why you're a people pleaser, when it started, how you did it to not be abandoned. I'm not denying any of those experiences you've had, but it's also manipulation, is what I'm
Yeah.
trying to say.
Well, and that makes sense, because like I know manipulation has this negative connotation, and we're not saying you're intentionally manipulating
Exactly.
someone else. You can subconsciously be manipulating and not realizing it. Same as, for example, if you enter a relationship and you're doing all these things that you typically wouldn't do out of people pleasing traits. For example, for a female, washing the dishes for a guy, you
Mm-hmm.
know, um, cleaning their house,
Mm-hmm.
playing wifey before y'all are in a relationship, and you're doing all these things to get them to like you, and you're trying to please, even though you don't really want to do it.
Yeah.
That is a form of manipulation, because you're trying to do something to get them to like a version of yourself that you're not going to be 100% of the time.
Exactly, exactly. So another way to like, I know this is gonna be a little bit sidetracked, but another way to actually like dissolve it is like, and I've started doing this, which is like amazing. Am I doing this? because I really want to do it? Or am I doing this to fit in? Like just that one inquiry, like just that one question, like before you say yes to somebody, whether it's a trip, whether it's a favor, whether it's oh, loaning someone money, like whatever it is, whether it's your children, your sister, your brother, like whoever it is, asking that question, like, am I doing it because it feels good to me, or am I doing it so that they like me? Because if you're doing it so that they like you, then it's not an integrity completely with who you are. Now, I am not denying that everybody at some point wants to be liked and wants to be seen and wants to be heard. Like that's different. But if it goes overboard and you keep continually repeating the same pattern to be liked, then you're not in integrity with yourself. You don't. So now it's time to do some self-exploration and find out who am I?
Right.
I want? What do I believe in? Why do I feel so disconnected with myself? Why do I feel other people are not respecting me? Duh. Answer is you're not respecting yourself because you're people pleasing. So you're abandoning your needs. So now what's happened is coming back to energy for a little second is you're attracting similar experiences because that's the energy you're embodying.
Right. That makes sense. And something you taught me, and something that, the more I get into my faith, the more I'm learning, like, you're going to keep getting the same thing put in your path until, like, like, oh, for example, good example. I pray for patience a lot and I need to quit. My aunts told me to quit because I get a lot of things in my life that
Make you force you. Yeah.
force me to have patience. And I'm literally at my wits' end sometimes. And I'm like, ah. And I'm like, remember, Donna, you asked for this.
Yeah, that's actually very.
You you literally asked God and the universe to give you more patience, so they have to put things in your life. And
Mhm.
and another example, I was picking men that were emotionally unavailable
Mhm.
because I was emotionally unavailable, putting that energy out there, and I kept doing it over and over. But then the last guy I dated, I just I realized, like, in 2 months versus 2 years. So I'm very proud of myself for that. To be like, you know what?
Thing.
You're a great guy. This just isn't just what I'm wanting. So we're good. Let's just move on, because it was the same person in repeat fat pattern,
Mhm.
because it just kept, because it's the lesson that I had to learn, and I kept wanting to change it. And I kept saying, why do I keep doing this? I need to change this. I need to change this.
Right, right, exactly. So it's like again, guys, like coming back to it, like when you're a people pleaser, it's so easy to get resentful with other people.
Yeah.
It's so easy because you know that there's sacrifices going on. Like you're sacrificing your own needs. So you're thinking, "Oh my God, I'm doing all this. I'm giving up my values and I'm giving up my beliefs for
And you're
you
not
and
doing anything.
you're not doing anything and you're not even appreciating it and you're not even acknowledging it." Well, did that person ask you to give up your values and beliefs, or did that person ask you to be yourself? Like
Right.
again, like this is where like please be accountable for your own stuff. Like it's easy to like say, oh yeah, they're a narcissist and they took advantage of me and da, da, da. It's so easy to like point fingers, but like you played a role in this too.
Yep. And that's, I think, the hardest thing for people to do. And I think humans in general, no one wants to look at themselves or look in the mirror. But I've had hard conversations with friends and even to myself before, like when we've had sessions, that it's like, like, okay, for example, the guys that I dated, and it just kept happening and I was upset. And I remember you being like, okay, but at some point, you have to acknowledge that you allowed that behavior for this long.
Hmm.
So that's my role in it. I allowed it. I continue to try to change someone else
Yeah.
to the version that I wanted them to be.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
that's a form of manipulation and people pleasing. And that's the role I played. And that's called accountability.
Exactly. I mean, you're taking accountability now, but like, you got to start like looking at that stuff like as soon as you start doing it. Like, you got to start getting conscious. You got to start asking, why am I making these choices? Why am I doing this thing? If you're feeling misaligned, don't wait for 6 months. Ask, why am I feeling misaligned right now with myself? Like, where am I feeling detached? Right? Like,
Yeah.
those are like really good, like questions, like inquiries that you need to constantly ask yourself so you don't fall into the trap. Like for me, I will tell you what happened. Like it cost me my whole life. People pleasing cost me my whole life. So for me, I had no choice but to be like, if I want to be perceived differently, if I want to perceive myself differently, if I actually want to respect myself, I need to stop doing it. It
Yep.
later, at one point, it became a relationship with myself. Nothing about anyone else mattered. It what how I saw myself, and I was getting the ick, and I'm like, I don't want to do that. And
Right.
the truth is, guys, it's like possible. You just have to decide. You just have to decide. It's not that hard. You
Right.
just decide. You guys are thinking, oh, all my life I've done this. How can I not do this? I snapped out of it when I had done it for 30 years. I'm sure you can. Like,
Yeah.
for the past 4 years, I've not people pleasing. So if I can do it and I'm alive and I'm thriving, you can do it and you'll be alive too. Like,
I have two more questions about the people pleasing, and then I want to kind of transition into like how we can heal from it. So, the two questions that I have for the people pleasing are, why do people put others' needs above their own? I know we kind of touched on that a little bit from like abandonment and stuff like that, but I was going to see if you had any, like, if you knew any other reasons why people would put someone else's needs above their own. And a second part of that is do people do that? Is it more a control thing, an approval thing, out of fear, or they just want to avoid conflict?
yeah, so it's like all of the above. So
Okay,
the other reason why like people put, and I'm so sorry, like I'm not trying to trigger anyone. Another reason why people put somebody's needs above them all the time, like I mean, their needs above them, their own selves, is that they want to be perceived as very selfless. They want to be
perfect.
perceived as, oh, I'm such a giver. I'm such a good person. They really care about that perception. They're very attached to that identity.
Okay,
So they want to continually maintain that image,
that
right?
makes
Again,
sense.
are they givers? Are they good people? Sure. But again, you have to ask yourself, how much am I doing? And at what cost am I doing?
And
Because
no one's 100% of something all the time.
no,
So
that's what
why
I'm
would you be 100% of a people pleaser all the time?
exactly. That's why I'm saying it's not authentic. Like there are some people that are like naturally givers. Like you're a giver. I know I'm a giver. We're naturally givers. Like automatically when somebody's like bringing up a situation, we want to help them. We want to fix it. Like we're fixers, we're problem solvers. That's just, how John is wired. I'm wired. Like I know that. But like we're not going to do it all the time. Like, if we don't feel up to it, we're going to be like, no, I'm not. I don't have the energy for that. I don't have the bandwidth for that. I'm sorry. Like I can't do it right now. Like, we're able to do that. And that's authentic because that feels good because it's not there all the time. Like you said, when it's happening all the time, it's out of integrity,
You want to
right?
know how I know that you're also not a people pleaser anymore? And this just thought just came into my mind. Because if you were, you would accept so many clients all the time because you in your mind would be like, I have to help every single one of them. I want to help every single one of them. But you don't do that. You set a
Yeah.
limit on how many people you see a month to
Mhm.
make the boundaries, to give yourself space. And that obviously you're pleasing your customers. But I'm just saying, like, if you were like still in that people pleasing mind before you healed, you would
Yes.
probably be seeing 20 to 100 clients a day.
Easily. I know therapists, I know coaches that do like 7 a day, and I'm like, wait a minute, how are you doing that? Like, that's insane. That's like an hour and a half per client. And it's like very heavy. Like, I don't see more than like 4 a day. I'm actually going to downsize to like 3 a day because, like, of the amount of energy and time that like goes on and the prep and everything. It's like 3 a day is like my sweet spot. But you're absolutely right. Like, it's like I used to burn myself to the ground. And
Well,
this
because
is
it's
the
hard to say no when you want to help somebody.
so hard to say no. And then it's so funny you say this because, like, recently, 2 months ago, I was triggered by a client. It's so funny I'm
I
saying
just
this
smiled
part.
really big.
Yeah, I was triggered by a client because she was like, well, what about the evening? Can you take me on the evening at like 7? Because I get done at like 6. Like, why can't you take me on in the evening for an emergency session like every week? I'm like, wait, first of all, I don't work at 7. I'm done at 6. So for me to take you on at 7 and go till 8, 8:30, that would like take away my whole evening.
Right.
And I'm not trying to work like that much, and I told her, maybe you should look at other options, like other availabilities, other coaches, like that is not a time I'm able to do. And I also said, I've also like made a, promise to myself that I'm not going to get burnt out. And if I do that, I don't think I can be a good coach for you. I
Right.
don't think I can help you in a way that I can
Because you're going
because
to be resentful. Because you're going to
exactly.
be sitting in that session going, I don't want to be here.
Yeah, but then she was like kind of like pushing it, right? She was like, "Oh, why can't you?" Like, like and so this is again, guys, what I'm trying to say is givers have to set limits because takers do not know how to.
Right.
If you're a giver, stop getting bitter, stop being resentful, stop feeling like, "Oh, people should understand me naturally." No, no, no. You have to set boundaries. And I think that's the next thing that we want to talk
Yeah.
about.
Yeah. So transitioning into the healing portion, I wanted to ask you if you feel like there's like an order to it because, like, do you feel like you should first be aware that you're a people pleaser and try to heal from wherever it's coming from, whether that be childhood, relationships, wherever. And then the other two portions of like healing, I guess, in that fashions is setting boundaries and then also learning to prioritize yourself. Do you think there's an order in that, or do you think it all comes together?
So I think awareness, like for me, I'm always going to say awareness is number one, right?
Mhm.
So first you have to, like, if you're listening to this and you're like nodding and clapping and, if you're a people pleaser, congratulations, because you have become aware, which is the first step in healing. If you cannot heal anything unless you're aware that it's going on with you. So if you're aware and you want to change it, you're already ahead of like many people, right?
Mhm.
So then how do you change it? And this is where, for me, I'm a person that like I change with myself, but I also like to voice my experiences to my close friends. So like what I started doing is first I started saying no to like things that made me feel bad. And then I started explaining that to some of my closest friends, not in a way that, oh, they have to validate me and they have to understand me, not in that, just for like clarity and saying, hey, I realize that all these years I actually didn't like to go dancing. I actually didn't go like to go clubbing and have drinks. Like I realized it. And it's actually kind of liberating. I actually feel more free. And I realized I was unconsciously people pleasing you guys. And I don't want to do that anymore because I just don't think it's fair to you. I don't think it's fair to me. And I still think we can have all these experiences, right? So I started doing things like that where I didn't give people that shock of like suddenly like changing and not communicating.
Yeah.
And they're like, what's wrong? You know?
You're like, no, let me explain. I'm not
Yeah.
just going to ghost you here.
Yeah. So I'm a very good communicator. Like, so I, communicate to my close friends about like transitions and changes that like happen in my life. So for me, that was like more of a supportive environment where it felt, okay, this is like great. Like, I'm able to communicate. And get this, if they had said, no, we'd rather you come with us, no, we'd rather you join us. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. You're not a people pleaser. You're wrong. If they did something like that, I would immediately be like, no, I think you're used to that version of me. I think you're comfortable with that version of me. And I've done enough self-reflection that I know that I've been a people pleaser. Thank you, but no thank you. So again, having those boundaries, right? And how does that come? It doesn't come when you don't have awareness. Like, for example, if you don't know who you are, everybody will tell you who you are.
Yes, they will.
So you've got to, like, the first step in the process, you've got to ask yourself, who am I? How am I showing up in relationships and friendships? Because once you owned it, then nobody can use it against you. It's
That is
like,
right. Yeah. And I'm firsthand, I will agree to that.
yeah, so I would say like that's like the transition. Like, did I miss something?
No, no, no. So that makes sense. And then as far as like the boundaries, like I know that's how you do that for like your example is like you communicate well and you express yourself well instead of like just ghosting someone. How what are some other ways people can start establishing some boundaries? Maybe it's slowly once they've identified that they're a people pleaser and they're trying to then, obviously heal why they're a people pleaser, like whether that be through coaching, therapy, whatnot. Then how do they start establishing those boundaries? Like, or would you give different examples of how someone could do that?
Yeah. So like this is really interesting because like when I was working with one of my coaches like many years ago, um, and she was like telling me, just say no, just say no. And I'm going to tell you guys, it's not that simple. Right? So there is like a transitionary process. And what that looked like for me, and you can take away from this, is like saying no and saying why I'm saying no. That was helpful in the transitionary phase. You don't have to say why all the time, but you're transitioning from becoming a people pleaser to like standing on your own 2 feet and not abandoning your own needs. So maybe like saying, hey, I can't make it today because I'm like really exhausted. And if I don't sleep, I'm going to get like bitter tomorrow. I can't work tomorrow. Like I just need that.
Yeah.
Just little bit explaining. Again, not explaining to people please, explaining to make the transition easier for you.
And once you've gotten more comfortable, you're saying that the next time you could say, hey, I just
Yeah,
don't feel like it tonight. Thank
no,
you. Thank you for
exactly.
the invite.
Because remember, your body is trying to achieve safety. So when your body is trying to achieve safety, it can go from, oh yeah, like I'm like people pleasing, okay, I'm safe, I'm like not abandoned, to like, no. it can go to like safe to unsafe right away. So you have to have a transition process. So your body can be like, okay, you know what? I've like explained myself. I'm stepping into safety by saying no.
That makes sense. And then after you've set the boundaries and kind of gotten more used to that, which again, it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take time and everyone's different, has a different timeline. It may take you a week. It may take you a year. It may take you 10 years.
Mhm.
Everyone's timeline is different. So don't compare your journey to someone else.
Yeah.
But then I think that a part of that healing is then prioritizing yourself, like learning to put yourself first without feeling selfish. Um, and doing things that just kind of make you feel better about yourself. So, would you have some examples of how? Because I think that's why people feel uncomfortable transitioning from people pleasing to not people pleasing because you start feeling selfish or guilty
Mhm.
internally. So, how do you start prioritizing your own needs and then also help negate that guilt and selfish feeling?
I think you have to ask, I think this is where I think you really check in and ask, like, about the resentment and the bitterness that comes with it. And
Mm-hmm.
then ask yourself, like, if you did something for yourself first and then poured from a full cup, are you still going to feel that bitterness or resentment? Because the one thing you're going to start seeing a big change immediately is you no longer are going to hate yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You're actually going to start respecting yourself. And when you respect yourself, you feel happier, you feel better. You feel better about your identity, you feel better about you as a human. And when that happens, you're going to feel like, oh my God, this is so worth it. Like what I'm feeling and the connection that I feel with myself is like so worth it. So it's safe for me to be quote unquote selfish. And
Mm-hmm.
again, ask yourself, what does selfish mean to you? Because to everyone it is different and it doesn't have one standard meaning. So you may associate something to being selfish, but in reality, it might just be self-care. It might just be self-love,
Right.
right? So I want you to explore that and ask, like, why do I think this is selfish? And then also ask, like, how old is this belief? Like, since when have I been having this belief that this is selfish? And then where did I learn that this is selfish? That's when the parenting figures come or ex-boyfriends come. Like, where did I learn that telling my truth or saying no is selfish? And then asking, is that ultimately true? The person that I learned from, do I want to have their life? Do I want to have the life that they're living? Or do I resent the life that they're living? And I want to have a better life, right? Because the problem is you've learned it from someone and unconsciously you're idealizing that person, when in reality, you may not even want to have their life.
Right. I remember when you first told me that, I was like, that's some really good advice. I was just like, because that makes a lot of sense. Like, I think you, not in just this scenario, but I think we were talking about like friends and giving advice, and you were like, never take advice from someone's life that you do not want. And I was like, well, damn, that makes a lot of sense because a lot of people's got a lot of opinions, and I don't necessarily want to live the way they live. So why would I take the advice? Because obviously they're following their own advice.
Exactly. 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 And this is the same thing, right? It's like you look at someone, you ask where you mirror that behavior from. And if they're not your role model, then what are you doing? It's like, what are
No,
you?
it made a lot of sense when you said it because I was just like, so, sometimes you just need it to be said in a certain way that you can understand it. And it's like that. Like this podcast is not going to click for some people. Some people are going to be like, "Yeah, I've tried all that; it doesn't work for me." And then there's going to be some people that listen to it and go, "Why have I never thought about that before?"
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know?
And then, it's so funny. I saw somebody do this, like it's the best thing. And I like even asked him, I said, can I use this, for myself? And can I use this for my, and then he's like, yeah. He would do this, like anytime I asked a question, he would close his eyes and he would be like, please give me a few seconds and then answer with clarity instead of saying, yeah, 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 sure, 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 because that's a very like people pleaser thing, right? We immediately agree. We have to. If we don't, we're like, oh my God, they're getting uncomfortable. Okay, they're waiting. No, no, no. Like just pause and sit with your body and ask just for like 20 seconds. How does that feel? Like, and then give them an answer. Like that will be so different from when you give them an answer right away.
Well, and not just even about the people pleasing, but I've heard that before too, and that's more of an actual you're listening to understand versus listening to hear someone talk. And
Yes.
like that moment of pausing, you're actually sitting there reflecting on what they said so that you can
Yeah.
then give them an accurate statement because sometimes we do just pop off at the mouth and then we're like, oh, that just came out real wrong. That's not
Mm,
what I was trying to say.
so true. And I think this is also where you say like listening to respond and not listening to react.
Yep.
Right? Because reaction is like quick, response takes time.
Yeah, I agree.
Honestly, everybody has 20 seconds to spare when you're gathering your thoughts because now they know that you've answered with intention. Like when you've said yes, they know that you really mean it.
Yep, I agree.
And when you've said no, they also know that you've really meant it. Like what I've started doing recently is like when people ask me something, I've started like saying, can I let you know in a few days?
Yeah,
And, there is a momentary discomfort. I'm not going to lie because of being a former people pleaser. But then I'm also like, this is good because now they're also going to know that I've taken time to think about it. And when I get back with my answer, they know that I'm not pleasing them.
right.
They know that I've thought about it. And I know I've thought about it. I've given myself grace and time. So I know I'm in integrity.
I agree with you. Now, guys out there that do this, I have a couple friends that do this and they do
Mhm.
it as how do I put this? They already know they're going to say no. They do it to quote unquote please you for a couple days to make them think that they might give in to you. So do
Uh-huh.
this with intention. Like anything that we do in life, I think if we're just intentional about it, I think that truly makes someone come off very authentically yourself just to move in integrity, to move in intention because when we are people pleasing, when we are doing all these things and we're not being who we are, people I think people know that. I think your personality comes across as like you just have like you said you feel it. There's a eke now like you said, takers are going to take it. They don't care if they feel like your personality is coming off different, whatever. They're just going to take and take and take. But someone who's truly your friend and whatnot, it's going to feel not genuine and there's going to be a disconnect in that friendship, relationship, whatever.
No, absolutely. Like I've even like I do this with friends, which is like crazy. I know it might sound like high school. Actually, no, it's actually quite mature. I'll tell you what I do. I do this with close friends, best friends, and I'll always be like, you have to be honest with me. This is it's not a criteria, it's not conditional, but this is what I really really need, and this is what I really appreciate. Like if I'm doing something to offend you, or if you don't like something about something, you have to come to me and like tell me, talk to me about it, and we talk about it like adults. You cannot, for me, the greatest betrayal for me is like my close friends or best friends talking behind my back
Yeah.
and saying shit about me behind my back. And I'm just like, no, you don't have to people please me in my face and go behind my back. Like you can, I'm actually a safe space. You can actually like tell me like what you think or like what's coming up for you, and we can actually navigate it. So full circle coming back is that a preventative measure for people pleasing? I think once you establish safe spaces, and if you can be a safe space and you can be a good communicator, like this is not taught in school, guys. Like how to communicate, it's not taught.
No, it's not.
You can be a good communicator, you can have rich relationships, you can have rich friendships, you can have rich everything. But you should want to make that change.
Right. I
Like
agree.
talked about this before starting the podcast. Like you should want to make that change. You should want to not self-abandon. You should want to not be a people pleaser.
And I
Otherwise,
think
all of this is going to go in your head.
right. And I think there's a lot of people out there because, I had several people reach out to me and ask us to do this podcast. And I think that people want to do it. I think it's more of it's an uncomfortable thing. Anytime you're changing your personality after doing it for 30 years, or for me for 37 years, you're kind of set in that way. Like it's just more of a pattern and you're comfortable doing it. So it's
Yeah.
really uncomfortable diving into why you do something or to reach out to someone and say, hey, can you coach me? It's very uncomfortable to do that because then you have to live through things that you may not want to relive. But at the end of the day, if you truly want to change those behaviors, you're going to have to do something different that's not comfortable for you.
Yeah, I mean, like Albert Einstein said that, right? It's like doing the same thing and expecting a different outcome is insanity. So
Hmm.
it's like if you're continually people pleasing, but you expect other people to have more compassion for you and them hold space for you and them understand you. Oh, I'm sorry, like you're not changing anything. Like you're just expecting others to do things for you because you don't like taking accountability.
Yeah, and I mean it's hard. Like I've talked to friends about it, where they're doing the same thing and like that they come to me and that they want advice. I'm like, look, I'm gonna be really real with you right now. This has been going on for as long as I've known you,
Mhm.
and I give you advice every time you ask for it. And I'm not telling you obviously to take my advice with a grain of salt. I'm not a coach. I'm not a therapist. I'm not whatever. I'm just one of your very close friends that cares about you. And if you want a different outcome, you're gonna have to do something different.
Mhm. It's so
Like
true.
that's, I mean, it sounds so simple when you
It
say it
sounds,
out loud, but it's
yeah,
real. Like when you're saying it to someone who's not ready to hear it, it's just falling on deaf ears.
just doesn't hit. Yeah, it just doesn't hit. And I think again, this is where this is not about, people pleasing, but it's like I truly believe like not giving advice until someone asks. And I hate when somebody gives me advice when I don't ask. I hate.
I know I'm really bad about it. I gotta get better at that. I'm like, well, I think no, Jonna, no, no.
So like I literally I literally had to tell another friend that you need to stop yucking on my yum. I literally had to have a conversation. I literally had to say, I didn't ask for your opinion. I didn't ask for your advice. You need to stop yucking on my yum. If I'm sharing an experience and I like it and you have an opinion, you don't have to be a bitch. Like, remember what Buddha said, if you don't have anything nice to say, you can be quiet.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like
Yeah. I'm not a bitch when I give advice. I do always preface things with like, hey, like you definitely don't have to take what I'm saying as the end all be all because I'm not a perfect person.
Mhm.
But from the outside perspective looking in, because a lot of times I'm really good at staying neutral, even for example, like if one of my best girlfriends is married and I am not friends with the husband, I'm pretty good at staying neutral and going, hey, in this story that you're telling me, I can kind of see where he would get upset about this. And of course,
Right.
some of my friends do not like that. They're like, "Excuse me, you're my friend."
No,
And I'm
that's
like, "I am
actually
your friend," you
That's
know?
actually so true. Interesting point before we wrap up. Like one of my like friends was, complaining about her husband, and she was like, "Oh, he doesn't do this and he doesn't like do that." And then I was asking her, like, "Okay, if he's telling you to do something and you don't want to do it, then why are you doing it?" And
Hmm.
then having resentment that he's not reciprocating your energy and your love. Like, why would you in the first place do that when you don't feel like doing it?
Right.
And this is where I say, like, please take accountability. It's not cute, it's not romantic, it's not sweet.
No,
Sorry, it's just not. It's just not because it's not sustainable.
I
You know?
agree. No, I appreciate you doing this podcast with me. I think that was wonderful advice that you gave. So I hope everyone listening, like, truly just takes some time, takes that pause, takes that 20-second pause to just reflect after listening versus, but personally, if it is deep rooted and it is from a childhood trauma and everything, I again advocate for seeking out help, whether that be through a life coach like me and you, or whether that be through traditional therapy. Like I truly think that when it comes to childhood trauma and it's so rooted, because I've been through it and I went through coaching with me and you, we don't realize it. There's a lot of things that it's kind of hard to self help your way out of.
It is. It is because your own mind is not going to allow you to go that deep. Because when you go that deep, it's painful. So your own mind is actually going to protect you from feeling pain. That's why people are not able to like go deeper and do the work. That's why we're here. That's why we're coaches. That's why there are therapists. Like, because we can help you see parts of yourself that you're unable to do.
Right. I agree. So until next time, guys, thank you for listening. Bye.
Bye, guys. Thank you for tuning in.